The regular meeting of the Tri-City Council on Wednesday, February 8th, 2023 at 10 a.m. We are located in the Kingman City Council chambers for this meeting. If you'd all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll now do the roll call and introduction of special guests. So we'll start with those on the dais. I'm Mayor Cal Sheehy from Lake Havasu City.
I'm Steve D'Amico, Mayor from Bullhead City.
Ken Watkins, Mayor, City of Kingman.
Jess Knutson, City Manager, Lake Havasu City.
Ron Foggin, City Manager, Kingman.
Thank you. We'll go to Tanya to introduce the folks in the galley here today, and then we'll go over to Annie for those on Zoom.
My name is Tanya Ferguson. I'm the Deputy City Clerk of the City of Kingman.
Jamie Staley, Kingman City Council.
Chair Samley, Vice Mayor, City of Kingman.
David Diaz, Vice Chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Lake Havasu City.
Cameron Moses, Lake Havasu City Council.
Todd Stenberger, Arizona Department of Transportation.
Dave Lane, Vice Mayor, Lake Havasu City.
Mike Horton, General Manager, Alo, Arizona.
Chad Kingsley, Director of Public Health for Mojave County.
Kelly Gary, Lake Havasu City.
I'm Doc Weininger, Director of External Relations for Alo Fiber.
Anthony Kozlowski, Assistant to the City Manager, Lake Havasu City.
Colleen Haynes, Public Information Officer and InterGov for the City of Kingman.
Carl Cooper, Kingman City Attorney.
Good morning, Travis Lingenfelter, Chairman, Mojave County Board of Supervisors.
Hi, Becky Fossen, CEO of the Kingman Area Chamber of Commerce.
Edgar Kajero, Assistant City Manager, City of Bullhead City.
Good morning, Sue Stein, Bullhead City Clerk.
Good morning, Travis Pruitt, Assistant City Manager, Bullhead City.
Good morning, Juan Lizarraga, Bullhead City Council.
Dan Alfonso, City Council, Bullhead City.
Grace Hecht, Bullhead City Council.
Norma Bremet, Vice Mayor, Bullhead City.
Nancy Campbell, Lake Havasu City Council.
Jamie Kelly, General Counsel, Mojave County Water Authority.
Mark Clark, Utilities Director, Bullhead City.
Jeannie Kench, Mojave County Assessor.
Thank you. We'll turn it over to Annie to introduce those attending via Zoom.
Good morning, Annie Meredith, City of Kingman City Clerk. And joining us via Zoom this morning, we have from Lake Havasu City Council, Jenny Koch and Michelle Lynn. Lake Havasu City staff, we have Shannon Davis, Peter Palafs, and Kelly Williams. We also have David Diaz from Lake Havasu. Oh, sorry, that's in person here, sorry. We have County Supervisor Gene Bishop. We have Coral Evans, Penny Pugh, Kirk Lacey, Jeff Thuneman, and Lisa Stahl, as well as Michael Zog.
Excellent, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. We have a full group here today, and we're excited to have you all here. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from, is the call to the public. Would anyone like to address this board from the public? If so, just make your way up to the podium in front of us and state your name for the record. All right, there are no in-person call to the public. Is there anyone via Zoom that wanted to speak at call to the public? All right, seeing no hands raised on Zoom, we'll go ahead and close the call to the public. Moving on to item 4 is the approval of the minutes from our October 19th, 2022 Tri-City Council meeting.
I make that motion that we approve that.
Excellent. All right, we have a motion from Mayor Watkins from Kingman and a second from Mayor D'Amico from Bullhead City. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 5 is updates to Mojave County Board of Supervisors and other elected officials. We'll start with Chairman Lingenfelter. If you had an update to provide the council or had any words that you wanted to share. And if you could just make your way to the microphone just so those on the electronic means can also hear.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Sheehy, and thank you all. Just want to say thank you for our strong partnership with the county, all of our cities. We're making some progress. I've interacted with all of you in one way, shape, or form on our water issues, both on the river and our groundwater, and we continue that fight together. So I appreciate all of your commitment to making sure that we secure our water supplies here in rural Arizona. There really is no more important work at this time than securing our water supplies for our residents. Other than that, on Monday we held a groundbreaking event here in Kingman, breaking ground on the new Mojave County Animal Shelter. Besides that, I know that there are several county-funded ARPA projects going on in the different cities through our county supervisors' offices. And just again, thank you for your cooperation and your commitment and your partnership. If there's anything that we can do at the county to continue that, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Lingenfelter, and we appreciate the partnership with your office as well. Supervisor Bishop, did you have anything you wanted to share with the board? All right, it doesn't sound like... All right, so we'll move on to other elected officials. So we'll start with our assessor, Jeannie Kench.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. This time of year, I'm sure you all got my love letters. So I just want to let you know they did go with love. And our values are continuing to, well, depend upon where we are in the county, but our values are kind of leveling off a little bit, which would be good in 2 years for you guys. You'll notice the difference. We do have our new books available, so if you want anybody at all want books to pass out to your constituents, let me know. Let my administrative staff know, and we will get them to you one way or another. But these are great for chambers, for new people that come in, understand what our properties, how we figure out our property values. And then one last thing is, if you haven't yet heard yet, we have a new program besides the veterans program that we have an exemption available for those that are disabled less than 100%. There now is an exemption program for them, as well as we have a new app program, which is the Assessor's Address Protection Program, which locks your address, so it cannot be changed unless you tell us to change it again. We found the common denominator with people that have their properties messed with has been a change of address. So it's a nominal fee, and we have a notary at our offices to sign that affidavit saying that's who you are. So if there's any questions at all, thank you very much for having me speak.
Thank you, Jeannie. We appreciate it.
I have a whole bunch of books here.
All right, and it sounds like we might be having some issues with those on Zoom if they cannot hear us. I think Annie made some changes, so can you now hear us on Zoom if someone could message us? Okay.
This is Michelle. I can hear you now.
Oh, thank you, Councilmember Lynn. Okay, and then Supervisor Bishop, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, great. All right, we're back at it now. Supervisor Bishop, did you have anything you wanted to share with the group?
Oh, gosh, I didn't think you'd call on me until an hour down the way, but I can share that we just did the groundbreaking for the animal shelter in Kingman. It's a pivotal time for animal welfare in Mojave County. I'm very proud to have been there and to take that shovel of dirt. I brought my little rescue dog with me, and we had a great time, even with the Kingman wind. And then we'll have the ribbon cutting sometime in the spring of 2024. So I look forward to that. And I think I saw Supervisor Lingenfelter in the room, so he'll probably want to talk about the INA designation and the fact that it's being challenged and what all that means. And anybody in the Bullhead City area, we're looking for an appointment for a constable for down in that area. So other than that, since you caught me off guard, that's about all I have to share.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you,
Cal.
Yeah, thank you, Supervisor Bishop. All right, we'll now move on and see if we have any updates from representatives from other elected officials. Dr. Coral Evans, do you have an update from Senator Kelly's office?
Hello?
Hi there.
Hi, I don't have an update. I'm just here to listen today, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Excellent, thank you. And then Penny Pugh, representing Congressman Gosar, did you have an update or any comments?
I absolutely do, and good morning. Sorry I couldn't be there in person today, but we're still trying to get our office up and running in Goodyear, and we do not have communications there yet. Phone service, we're in line, so waiting for the House and the government to do their magic. But excuse me, I do want to give an update. HR 82, which was a Social Security Fairness Act, the congressman has been advocating for this for a very long time, and it is to eliminate the WEP. It's a windfall elimination provision, and it's the government pension offset that happens a lot to people who come from California and have some pensions, and their Social Security is offset because of that. So it's a great start. We'll see if it's bipartisan, so hopefully we can get that through the Senate. He also voted to terminate the vaccine mandate for foreign travelers. It's HR 185. That's outdated, and certainly we don't want to prevent travel for no reason. So it was from the director of the CDC. And then the House voted and passed legislation bipartisanly to end the COVID national emergency. That was put in a long time ago. It's again outdated, no reason to have that emergency. And in fact, there's about 40 emergency provisions in the law right now, dating clear back to 1970. So be on the look. Hopefully we can get some of those off the books and clean things up. We will be also a staff. We have a new staff, 2 staff members that will be attending the February 17 resource fair in Bullhead City for our veterans. And so we're looking forward to that. And of course, our new office will open in Goodyear. We've got a date in March. Hopefully we'll have phones and stuff by then. So we'll continue to do remote office hours up in the Mojave area. And if there's anything that we need to know about or should be at, please let us know. Happy to be there and look forward to serving you for the next 2 years.
Thank you, Penny. We appreciate it. All right, I believe that concludes our elected officials from other offices. We'll move on to item 6, which is our legislative update, the League of Arizona Cities and Towns. I didn't recall you introducing.
Mayor, I don't see anyone from the league on the Zoom.
Okay, so we'll move that agenda item, and if they do join later, we can readjust. So then we'll move on to item 7, which is our Arizona Department of Transportation update. Todd?
Good morning, everybody. Some of the projects we got going that's getting ready for construction and currently under construction, we're getting ready to kick off the East Kingman TI here in Kingman on I-40, the bridge deck replacement. Fan Construction was the low bidder as part of that project. Down in the Mojave Valley area, the Needles Bridge going on 95, that's a deck rehab. We're about 30% through that. That's down to 1 lane currently. We're getting ready also on the I-40 corridor, about 30 miles east of Kingman, heading to Flagstaff. We've got the Willow Creek Bridge that's getting ready to kick off. That's a brand new bridge that's going to be put on that alignment. And then on I-93, heading up to I-40 from Wickiup, just about 5 miles south, we got the Cobble Wash Bridge. That was a deck replacement project. We'll be coming back this spring when temperatures warm up to finish the paving. And then 10 miles north of Wickenburg, going to Phoenix, we're doing a minor pavement preservation project. We'll be wrapping that up this spring whenever temperatures warm up. Here's kind of some of the work that was done down there on the Cobble Wash, the US 93 corridor, some of the scour retrofit work and demo of the bridge deck. Okay, some upcoming preservation projects just west of Kingman, from Holy Moses Wash out here to the Walnut Creek area. That's about a 12-mile pavement preservation project. We're getting ready to advertise that at the end of this month. That's going to be a mill and fill both lanes. Then we have the pavement preservation work on SR 95 in the Bullhead City area. That's going to be mill and fill from the Laughlin Bridge all the way down to Courtright Road. We're getting ready to advertise that here in a couple months. On I-40 next fiscal year, so later on at the end of this calendar year, we're going to do the pavement preservation from milepost 2 to the Lake Havasu TI on I-40. That's going to be some reconstruction of the roadway, spot reconstruction and mill and fill. And then SR 95 in the Lake Havasu City area, the mill and fill project, we're wrapping that up, getting ready to advertise that. That should be into this month or next month. And then the US 93 corridor, just about 20 miles south of Wickiup, we're getting ready. That's advertised. That's going to be a mill and fill project. Some of the local projects, modernization projects, the county, they're doing the Complete Streets project out on Northern, adding some improvements, sidewalks, bike lanes. That's going to be advertising early this summer. We've got the Mountain View Road project with Mojave County. That's planning to advertise also this summer. It's going to be widening and paving Mountain View Road. That'll be a good connection to alleviate some of the traffic on SR 95. We've got the Bullhead Parkway to Silver Creek. That's going to be some street lighting and some safety improvements. That's going to probably be advertised at the end of this calendar year. And then the county also had a centerline rumble strip on Boundary Cone Road and Oatman Road, heading from 95 up to Oatman. Some of the bigger expansion projects in the area and of interest, we just had the public meeting for the West Kingman TI, the system-to-system interchange. We're anticipating construction this spring, have to wrap up the design on that project. Currently, we also are working with the partnership with the City of Kingman on the I-40 Rancho Santa Fe traffic interchange and also the Kingman Crossing traffic interchange. The designer is moving and progressing along on the Kingman Crossing interchange. Down on US 93, we've got the two divided sections just north of Wickenburg. The Tigner Ranch to Wickenburg Ranch Road, that project was just awarded, and we'll be getting ready to kick off construction once all the utilities are relocated. And then we have the Wickenburg Ranch to SR 89 divided 4-lane section. That's still currently in design. That's a developer-funded project, and at this time, we don't have an anticipated advertisement date for that project. Here's just some graphics of the Rancho Santa Fe, what it's going to look like with the access control of the typical diamond interchange. I-40, this is the US 93 system-to-system interchange. The Kingman Crossing traffic interchange, another typical diamond intersection, going to be running north up to the Wallapai Medical Center, and then down to the south. Here's our US 93 corridor. Just some information here. We're currently looking at getting ready to kick off the Cane Springs section just north of Wickiup, about 15 miles, 12 miles. That's going to finish the 4-lane divided section from Wickiup to I-40. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation, Todd. On the pavement preservation project for the I-40 from milepost 2 to the Lake Havasu interchange, is that both east and west? will be
Yes,
done?
both east and westbound.
What was the time frame on that?
That's going to be probably advertised at the end of this calendar year.
Okay, for work then to begin next.
Construction then would begin next spring.
Okay, yeah, excellent, thank you. Are there any other questions for Todd from members of the council? All right, thank you for your time and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the rural transportation update. I also did not see Kevin Adam on our introduction list earlier. I'm not sure if Mr. Adam has joined. Okay, all right, so we'll move to item 9, which is the Mojave County Water Authority update. Jamie, you can use the podium, or I know you have notes. You also can come sit up here if you're more comfortable.
We'll try the podium.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good morning. It's still morning. I'm Jamie
Yes.
Kelly, Mojave County Water Authority's General Counsel. Some of you have heard the information I'm going to share with you. Some of it is a little bit new. Since we last spoke about water at the authority, we've had the SEIS letter from the 6 states. For those that weren't at the last authority meeting, I would share with you that the water news remains bleak. Even though the snowpack appears to be above average so far this year, there's no guarantee it will continue. The hydrology indicates that upcoming weathering patterns may be a bit drier than normal. If you recall, we had favorable hydrology this time of year last year, and then it went away. So we have 2 problems on the river. We have aridification, hotter and drier climate, less water being produced, and we have overuse. The demands on the river exceed the supply. We've allocated 15 million acre feet between the upper and lower basins. On top of that, we gave 1.5 million acre feet to Mexico. That's 16.5 million acre feet. The river's been producing somewhere around 12.7 to 13.5 million acre feet. Through the recent years, we have been consuming storage. The system has not produced the water for the deliveries that have been occurring. The Bureau of Reclamation has indicated that they will operate the systems like Powell and Lake Mead to preserve the integrity of the system, to meet power production, and to maintain the ability to move water from behind the dam. At a certain elevation, 3490, which is the penstock elevation, the ability to move water from behind Glen Canyon Dam is reduced significantly. Director Bushatsky uses the analogy of the turbines, the 6 turbines being the equivalent of fire hoses, and the bypass tubes, which you have to use when you drop below, to being garden hoses. That dam, I believe, produces enough power for roughly 50 million rural residents. So they're looking to protect that. When they started this process, Bureau was telling us that the dam is original equipment and they have not manufactured replacement parts should something break. So I think they've been addressing that. They accelerated some maintenance on the bypass tubes. In February, when we met, the targeted elevations to protect were 3525 at Powell, and 1020 at Lake Mead. That has dropped. It's 3,500 at Powell, and it's 1,000 at Lake Mead, which is rough. And as you think about that, Arizona's already reduced its delivery 812,000 acre feet this year. That's 21% of our water from the Colorado River. The Bureau has also delayed the releases from Lake Powell to Lake Mead and accelerated the release of water from Flaming Gorge to Lake Powell to maintain that level. They are to release that water, it's roughly 500,000 acre feet, into Lake Mead in April, depending upon snow runoff. They have been slow in responding to the crisis, but they have processes that they need to complete. In the midsummer, the Secretary of Interior stated that we need to generate 2 to 4 million acre feet in savings to stabilize the water. That is to replenish the storage that we have drained through our use. I mean, hydrologists are telling us that it is unlikely that we will refill those reservoirs in our lifetime. And just to bring them up to healthy levels could take 5 or 6 years of above average snowpack. The Fed is currently conducting an SEIS, which is a supplemental environmental impact statement, evaluating its options under the NEPA process to change the record decision. The federal proposed action includes 3 items: changing Section 2D to reduce the quantity of water released or apportioned to the lower states, Section 6C to modify or reduce the quantities of water released from Powell, and Section C to provide the ability to adjust the releases from Lake Powell midterm based upon runoff. And they have tossed around a figure that if it's below 50% of normal runoff, they can reduce less than 7 million acre feet from Powell. And this is what we have been told. It is not necessarily what they are doing. We will see what the evaluation looks like when they send us the SEIS. They also stated they would consider a state alternative if it was proposed. We missed one deadline, met the January 31st deadline, which is the 6-state SEIS letter, where the 6 states, everybody except California, propose an assessment of water reductions called infrastructure protection volumes, which essentially is an assessment in lieu of the evaporative system losses proposed by Nevada maybe in January. And what the assessment, I'm going to get the names confused because the IPV just came out. They renamed it because they think it's more acceptable as infrastructure protection volumes than an assessment for evaporative losses. Nevada proposed that evaporative losses be assessed based upon the reach of the river in which you are located. So the shortest assessment would occur to Nevada, which is in their created Reach 1 because they're essentially above Hoover Dam. The largest assessment would be Yuma and IID, who's at the bottom of the river, because they would be assessed losses for the entire trip down. And of course, the higher water priority users do not like that theory. And what it does, the net result, is it makes California participate at larger volumes earlier in the process. California has submitted their own proposal, which delays their participation and delays actions. I haven't had the opportunity to fully evaluate it, but they have selected a different trigger date for the assessment of IPV volumes. I mean, it's a tough acronym for me today. It's in a state of flux. We'll see what the Secretary does. We are expecting a draft of the SEIS in March or April. There's some mandatory comment periods. The Secretary hopes to be in a position to issue the EIS and adopt an amended ROD in midsummer. Meanwhile, I will share with you the word on the river is everybody is lawyering up. Everybody has spent this time looking at what their legal rights are. IID has stated that it's ready to litigate. I think the Yuma people will be ready to litigate. There is a question in a shortage is declared, what will be respected by way of priorities. Under the Boulder Canyon Project Act, the present perfected rights have to be respected. Those are going to be the Indian rights and the P1 rights in the Arizona-California decree. P2 will be respected as secretarial reservations. But P3, which is what UM is, maybe it's respected, maybe it's not. The problem comes to the storage in the system, because in the 07 guidelines, they allowed for the creation of intentionally created surplus, ICS. And the 07 guidelines contains a provision, if you create ICS, that ICS will have your name on it behind the dam, and the secretary will not deliver it to anybody else. So the question becomes, does the federal government need to protect ICS water before it can deliver to P3? We don't know. The language in the decree, we'll know when the secretary shares with us what she wants to do. There is definitely language in the Arizona-California decree that vests a significant amount of authority in the secretary to take such actions that she deems appropriate to protect the system. In addition to the SCIS letter, we are hearing discussion that the definition of beneficial use will change. We don't know what that means, what is being bandied about. What I can share with you is that Arizona agriculture is 75 to 85% efficient, and IID is 50 to 60%. So there are some savings to be picked up there. Does it benefit the system or does it benefit California? I just don't know. And we are hearing words about human and health, safety water. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it means additional volumes kept behind the dam, or if it means a quantity of water that is delivered to municipalities that have hardened demand and it's difficult to cut use, such as our communities along the river. We don't have any agriculture to cut out. You don't have significant quantities of non-functional turf to remove. So whatever cuts you folks, the river communities have to take, it would be, I guess, to the parks first. You have effluent. You hope your effluent doesn't kill your grass if you're not already using the effluent there. California has a number for your human health and safety standards. It's 55 gallons per capita per day. For those of you that are familiar with your water use, I bet you our communities are using 250 to 300 gallons per day. That's a per capita, that's a pretty stiff cut. So we don't like that number. Arizona Department of Water Resources has not put a number forth. I imagine CWD has proposed a number internally, but they haven't shared that with us. I've requested modeling from what the SCIS would look like for the river communities. DWR says perhaps they'll schedule a MOG group, which is the modeling advisory group to the Arizona Reconsultation Committee, and the authority has employed Doyle Wilson as a consultant to participate in that. And that's about all the news I have. I could go on, but I don't know that I would increase what I've shared. So do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, thank you for that. We always talk about how complicated this is, and your presentation just identifies how complicated this truly is. Possibly with Chairman Lingenfelter and Jamie, if we can talk a little bit about the groundwater issues up in this area. I know it's outside of the authority and it's outside of the Colorado River, but it still impacts our neighbors here. There is a bill that's working its way through the legislature, so I'm not sure if maybe the chairman or Jamie would like to maybe just address that.
I will give kudos to Supervisor Lingenfelter, who has been a leader on the INA and has been a leader on the groundwater legislation that has been introduced.
Yes.
And the authority did sign a letter in support.
Mayor Sheehy, thank you. There's been two bills actually now that have been dropped. In prior legislative sessions, the language that Regina Cobb dropped and was referenced as rural management areas, there's been some modifications to that language. Senator Borelli in the Senate first dropped 1306, Senate Bill 1306, It's now called Local Groundwater Stewardship Area. Majority Leader Leo Biasucci in the House has also committed to introducing a House version of that bill. However, to his credit, he was able to get Gail Griffin into a room, the Farm Bureau, the cattle ranching community, several others, also Mojave County, Coconino County, Yavapai County, La Paz County, around a table to try to talk about any changes that might need to be made to that version in the House before it's introduced. So he's actually introduced that bill. I think it was on Monday, and you'll forgive me. I'll make sure to email everybody what the bill number is. But we're pleased to have both of those now formally introduced at the Arizona Legislature. Our lobbyist at Mojave County is High Ground, Nick Ponder, who used to be with Arizona Cities and Towns. We're going to be working closely with him, going down. If there's a hearing scheduled, obviously we would ask and encourage Kingman and any of our other elected officials that can make the time to come down to testify during those meetings. We'll certainly make you available of those. And we'll just see how far we get. Last year we did a really good job. We were still talking about rural groundwater in June of last year, which that has never happened before. So, hopefully we'll continue our momentum. Our rural coalition in Arizona has continued to strengthen and broaden all over the state in rural areas. The folks that are really concerned with securing our local groundwater supplies in rural Arizona, which have no protections like they do in an AMA, an active management area, or even an INA, an irrigation non-expansion area. So we'll certainly stay on top of that. Something else I didn't mention the last time I was up here at the podium, Leo Biasucci has also introduced a bill that would prohibit or propose to prohibit subsequent transfers of fourth priority Colorado River water, similar to the Greenstone to Queen Creek water transfer that we are all continuing to fight. So he has introduced legislation that basically says no more of these, west to east to central Arizona fourth priority Colorado River water transfers until the lake level gets back up to like 1090. If we ever see that level again, God willing, we all hope that we get back up there, but really the bill says it's not appropriate to consider any more of these transfers in Arizona from our Colorado River communities down to Phoenix in central Arizona to continue their development when you have this whole entire Colorado system that's just crashing. It's just not responsible. So appreciate that. Also, as many of you know, Mojave County, Yuma County, La Paz County, the city of Yuma, we've all joined together and we've filed a lawsuit against the Bureau of Reclamation against their finding of no significant impact on that Queen Creek transfer. And I know that if you're not a formal party to that, I think what our attorney that the county has engaged, they're Clark Hill, they're asking that perhaps you consider filing an amicus letter in support of that unified front against this transfer. So pleased that from the Utah border all the way down to the Mexican border on the Colorado River, we're unified against this transfer and any similar transfers, and those letters would be tremendously helpful. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. The cities along the river in that area are filing that amicus. It is due on the 14th of February, and we have a coalition up and down that entire river. So we talk about the water issues that we have amongst our Tri-City Council. We all have a little different area. Bullhead and Lake Havasu City are more aligned where we only have Colorado River water. Kingman, the groundwater is so important to them, and our support from the river communities of the city of Kingman and their efforts in Mojave County is the Mojave County Water Authority was created so that we could purchase the water rights from Kingman that they had on the Colorado River. So we're all interconnected over many, many decades of this, and we have to remain unified in fighting water transfers, protecting our water futures. This area has done a fantastic job of doing that, and we need to continue to make sure that those areas stay secure. Are there any other questions or comments for Jamie on the Water Authority? No. All right. Any other comments from anyone in the audience? All right, we'll go ahead and close that item. Thank you, Ms. Kelly, for your presentation. We appreciate it, and all the work that you do on our behalf of the Mojave County Water Authority. Next item is item 10 is Allo Communications update, and we have with us Doc Winiger and also Mike Horton.
All right. Can I go ahead and pull that up? Oh, there we go. All right.
Share. And then if you'll just double click on that, it'll maximize it.
All right. Remember, I'm a technology guy, right? Mayor Sheehy, Mayor Watkins, Mayor D'Amico, thank you very much for the opportunity for us to come and present today. I'm joined by Mike Horton, who's our Arizona General Manager. Mike and I, between the two of us, have over 80 years of telecom experience, which is kind of intimidating to me personally. We are really excited where we are in the build, and I'm going to go through a series of slides real quickly and take whatever questions you have, and we'll try to be mindful of the amount of time that I've been given. Just an update, Allo has continued to grow since we were here last year with our presentation. We now are at about 1,400 employees. I think when we made our first presentation almost a year and a half ago, we were around 500 employees. So we've almost tripled in size with the investment that we've made in the communities that we're building. Of those 1,400 employees, about 51 currently are in Lake Havasu City, about 23 employees roughly in Kingman so far. And just a rule of thumb, as we go forward, as part of our local core value, we will keep generally about an employee per 1,000 population in the area is what our permanent employment tends to be. So somewhere around 60 and 45 to 50 employees in the communities will be permanent employees of Allo, and we'll be staffing up as we start to do the installs and the maintenance as we go forward. We have 17 markets system-wide currently under construction and are currently providing service now in 25 markets. Yuma and San Luis are the other announced markets in Arizona for Allo. We'll be announcing other markets in the coming weeks throughout the state of Arizona. And we're now up to about 135,000 customers system-wide. Well, I'm going to talk specifically about both Kingman and Lake Havasu City. First of all, Kingman, we have about 131,000 feet of fiber installed. Our two central offices, and to remind you what our central offices are, those are our offices that house our electronics, they house our computers, and they are specifically to move the internet from the community to the world and vice versa. We'll have two of those in each of Lake Havasu City and Kingman. The building will be set tomorrow for Central Office number 1 on Wiki up here in Kingman. The building will be set within 30 days on Gordon, which is our Central Office number 2. It's also our head end, and our head end facility is what brings all of our video product into the community. In this case, it'll be the head end for the whole state of Arizona. Will be located in that facility on Gordon. The construction is currently occurring in 3 ponds. And to remind you, a pond, when Allo designs a community, we divide the city into grids of 8,000 to 10,000 rooftops. We call each one of those grids a pond in our nomenclature. And so we're currently constructing within 3 ponds in Kingman. 4 additional ponds have been submitted and are awaiting permits at this time. There are 35 total ponds in the city of Kingman, to give you an idea of what that process will look like. We're mindful of the need to get the airport here in Kingman turned up very quickly because of the economic development impact that airport has. That's in the first pond that we submitted and will be lit when the community is lit. On the airport, we have now placed a strand wire on all locations in the airport, and then we will loop the fiber over that. But all the strand has currently been installed on the airport industrial park there. So for facilities, we will have facilities locally in each community. Our warehouse is at the airport, location 9750 Shipping Lane. It's a beautiful facility, one of the best actually in our entire company. And this includes our staging area for construction. We have 16 employees working out of this location. We will also have a local storefront in Kingman. It'll be at 3153 North Stockton Hill Road, just north of, just south of the interstate on Stockton Hill Road. That is under construction and is scheduled to be completed in the next 30 days at that location. Wanting to be members of the community, good members of the community, we've joined the Kingman Chamber, the Kingman Butler Realtor Association. We've also sponsored 11 community events since we began construction. We've also supported 2 Mojave Community College events, which actually support the community college in all 3 locations. Working with the soccer team there on one of those and golf outing to support the new soccer team, the Bighorns. I wanted to give some kudos in Kingman for what we've been working on so far. Bennett Bradley has been great to work with at the airport. Rick Zane, Mojave County permitting. We get permits back usually in a matter of a day or two from Mojave County. He's been excellent. A guy by the name of Miles Willard, who you probably have never heard of, but Miles works for Unisource, and he is personally permitting all of our poles. We have to have each pole permitted, and Miles is doing that in both Kingman and Lake Havasu City, and he's actually been able to stay up with us. And then Will Van Oosting with Unisource Energy Gas has also been excellent to work with for us in Kingman. Kingman challenges, and one of the things that slows deployment. Challenge number 1 is the Arizona State Lands Department, and we'll be talking about that a couple of times during the presentation this morning. We're going to have a map that we're going to throw up later that shows all of the middle mile construction and what we're going to be doing. But we applied for permits with Arizona State Lands in October, and about 2 weeks ago, so the reason we need to build across state lands is we can build the best fiber network to every location in a city, but we have to get it to the world. And so in the case of Kingman, we need to get to a Zayo. Zayo is the name of a fiber company, point of presence that actually is out in Golden Valley. And we have to build, in this case, through Clack Canyon and to connect Kingman to the World Wide Web. And we need that permit from state lands to be able to build that stretch. It's about 3,000 feet in this case. We also have 50 landowners that we're working with to permit to build across their land as well, but none of those have been a problem. And we're down to about 10 agreements there that we need to get. So state lands, about 2 weeks ago, finally said, we don't think you're going to need the cultural permit. They told us in the case of Lake Havasu City, we'll be talking about that. On December 28th, we had to do a cultural and environmental survey. So they didn't tell us we had to do one in Kingman, but they wouldn't tell us that we didn't have to do one in Kingman. They just were non-responsive on that issue. So finally, about 2 weeks ago, they said, nope, you're not going to have to do the cultural survey. And now we just have to get all the signatures necessary within state lands to get you that permit. So we still don't have that permit, but we're expecting to get that permit shortly, at which point we'll be able to start that middle mile construction. And the second challenge in Kingman is strictly just the topography, the rock. And Kingman has probably twice as much underground as Lake Havasu City does, as far as what we have to build within the city itself. In the case of Lake Havasu City, we have almost 366,000 feet of fiber installed. Both central offices are completed in Lake Havasu City. We have construction occurring currently in 8 ponds, and 2 of those are more than 80% complete at this time. Our Lake Havasu, now the issue with state lands in Lake Havasu City is to get Lake Havasu City to the world, we have to get to a Lumen point of presence, which is 6 miles north of Lake Havasu City on Highway 95. And we have that route 92% complete, but we can't finish the route until we get the permits. We have 3 different permits we're waiting on for state lands for that particular area. The backbone is 85% complete within the city. We have 2 underground contractors with crews currently working with the 3rd one en route, and then Allo aerial crews have been brought in to supplement the aerial crews there as well. There's 57 total ponds in Lake Havasu City that will need to be built. Our Lake Havasu City facilities include our warehouse at 1680 West Acoma Boulevard, our storefront at 2186 McCulloch Boulevard, up on the top of McCulloch. Construction is, completion is estimated to be February 28th on that facility. Our tech office is at 2590 Kiowa North, and our laydown yard is actually near the airport at Wayland Drive, Wayland Circle, where we're dispatching and storing a lot of ours for both locations, our fiber and other. Again, we've joined the Lake Havasu City Chamber, Lake Havasu Realtors Association, and have sponsored 14 community events in Lake Havasu City since construction has begun. Lake Havasu City kudos, Jessica Knudsen, Greg Frosley from the city have been very supportive in that build. Mike Wolf, Greg Hansen, Jared Teal, Shelby Hennigan, Kaylin Thomas, all from engineering, and Lake Havasu City Water and Wastewater. Also, I'd like to specifically call out Sherry Ahrens from the Bureau of Land Management, because our build to bring redundancy to both communities, we're going to be building a route that I'm going to be showing you here in just a minute. And she has been excellent at helping us get that through the Bureau of Land Management as far as permitting goes. James Gray at PED has been supportive, particularly helping us get the laydown yard and the facilities at the airport, and then again, Miles Willard. So the challenge on Lake Havasu City is the 6-mile build from the Lumen to the Lumen Pop point of presence north of Lake Havasu City. 1/2 mile is on state lands, and then there's 2 200-foot segments where the Unisource poles would not support additional fiber, so we have to either do pole replacements or put guy wires out, and just putting the guy wires out requires a state lands permit. On December 28th, we were notified we had to have a cultural environmental permit for those builds. The study is supposed to be wrapped up the survey is supposed to be wrapped up this week, and then it will take a couple of weeks to submit that, along with a pre-meeting with the archaeologists. Hopefully that's all going to be done within 30 days. The cultural survey must then be approved by the Arizona State Lands Department, and then the permit will be issued at some point after that. Also, SHPO has to approve it. So there's 2 state agencies that have to approve it once we submit it. The Lake Havasu City market should be live 45 to 60 days after the Arizona State Land Department permit is issued. And where that time estimate comes from is we'll need to complete the construction on those legs that once we have the permit, and then the network has to be light tested for 30 days. And so, and that's with any market, it has to be light tested. So same with Kingman, once we are connected to the Zayo POP from our central office, that'll need to be light tested for 30 days, and the head end has to be tested for 45 days. So the redundant middle mile network, that's the last thing I have to talk about here. ALWO does not believe in building a community, what's called in the industry single-threaded, where there's only one route in and out of the town from a fiber perspective, because that's the case where you get a fiber cut and the whole town goes down. And so we design ours on a ring network functionality, and then we also have redundant routes into the communities. So because of the shortage of fiber, of middle mile and long haul fiber available in these communities, we're having to build that. So we're building both an underground route and an aerial route from Lake Havasu City to the Lumen Pop. And then we talked about there's another Zayo point of presence on I-40. So we're going to build up I-40, and I'm going to go ahead and go to the map here and show you. So we're going to build, we'll start with Kingman on the north. So I think that's kind of a brown route. That's through Clack Canyon. That's to get Kingman connected in the first place. But to get redundancy to Kingman, that blue route comes down to and connects with the purple route there. That is a Zayo point of presence out on Griffith Road. So we will build out to that location. We'll lease fiber from Zayo to the location further west that you see. That's another Zayo facility there. And so the green then goes down to the Lumen Pop north of Lake Havasu City. So what that does is that gives if Lumen fails, so you see the Lumen blue line goes to Phoenix, and then the Zayo blue line goes to Las Vegas to get it to the internet drains and to the carrier hotels to the world. So that way, if there's a failure on the Lumen route, then it is rerouted through Zayo for Lake Havasu City. If there's a failure on the Zayo route, it's rerouted through Lumen for the people of Kingman. So that's how we have redundancy both in carriers and routes to both cities. So that also is currently being constructed, and ADOT has been great for us to work with, allowing us to build in the right-of-way. And in fact, we're the first telecommunications carrier to build in the interstate right-of-way that ADOT controls, because they understood the importance of being able to build those redundant networks. So I'll take questions. I have Mike Horton here also with me, who's overseeing all the construction in these communities, as well as the Arizona General Manager, and like to try to answer any questions you might have at this point.
Yeah, thank you, Doc. And we appreciate ALLO coming into our communities. Lake Havasu was fortunate to be the first Arizona city, and Mark, you came into quickly behind Kingman in Mojave County. Real excited to have you. It's something that our citizens need, our business community needs, to have options and choices. I just want to touch real quick, Bullhead City was not left out. Bullhead City is not going to be an ALLO community at this time, but I understand, have Mojave Electric Co-op that's doing something similar. Yes. Okay, you said just for our Bullhead City neighbors that are watching, they're just not part of the ALLO network, but they have some new things coming their way as well.
We will have internet.
Yeah, perfect.
And to set expectations, Mayor, it's likely Kingman will be the first city turned up because of the state permit doesn't need the cultural and environmental survey. And so they'll be within weeks. They'll both be turned up roughly the same time, but probably we expect Kingman to go first because we can get that permit first and get that built. This is a common ALLO practice. The communities, until we can get that redundant network built, which will be later this summer, will be single-threaded initially. But we think people are probably ready to have the communities turned up single-threaded while we complete the redundant network, rather than waiting for the redundant network to be done to start that turn-up process.
Yeah, excellent. And with the new governor, Governor Hobbs is making cabinet-level changes, and so we don't have an Arizona State Land Director yet. As soon as one is appointed, which we anticipate to be very, very quickly, we will resume our support in getting some of those permits moved through and the processes worked out. So.
And I'd like to also give kudos to Mayor Sheehy and to Supervisor Lingenfelder. They have made numerous calls on our behalf to state lands to try to expedite this process, but the process is what it is at this point.
Yeah, excellent. And then I believe you have a question, Mayor Watkins?
Well, yes, thanks, Mayor, appreciate it. Doc, appreciate the report. And of course, I know this is purely speculation. What are we looking at going live when you'd mentioned? I mean, you gave us some great timelines of after permits fall into place. What are we thinking?
Yeah,
for both Lake Havasu City and Kingman.
Yeah, in the case of Kingman, after permits, it's a longer build to complete that, and one of the requirements may be that we're not allowed vehicles in that area and actually have to hand walk to do the construction. So the construction is through Clack Canyon, is going to take a while. And so I would say after we have that permit in hand, and we still have our central offices to construct in Kingman, and those still have to have utilities turned on to them. Good estimate is probably mid-second quarter.
And once again, we totally understand.
Yeah, and
there's lots of things that have to fall into place for this all to happen.
There are a lot of moving pieces,
Yes.
a lot of them outside of our control, some of them we can, but we do appreciate everybody's cooperation in both cities in helping us to get this done. It is a pretty monumental effort to overbuild an entire city with a new utility when all the streets and sidewalks and driveways and everything are already in place, so.
Well, thanks again, and especially for all the participation in our communities and how you're making a presence. That's great. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, in Lake Havasu City, I think the probably most branded vehicles are Allo vehicles throughout our entire community. So they are everywhere.
We definitely have our share of vehicles out there.
Yes, you do. And you've been a stand-up organization since the day we first met you. I mean, everything that you have said about immersing yourself into our community, providing the fastest speeds, and helping us achieve our goal to give our citizens choice when it comes to these types of services has been spot on. So thank you for that.
All right, thank you.
I would like to also recognize Supervisor Lingenfelter for his work on allowing some of his ARPA dollars from his district to help expand the area up here in the Kingman and Mojave County area. So thank you, Supervisor, for that.
And those are the first areas being built as a result of that support.
Fantastic.
And we have some burros in Bullhead City if you need to use them.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, just perfect. Yeah, excellent. All right. Are there any other questions from members of the board? Yeah. Mr. Knudsen?
Mayor, hey Doc, again, appreciate the partnership and everything that you've done so far and will do into the future. You talked about there's 17 markets that are under construction right now. What does that number look like going forward? Is Allo growing beyond that, or can you maybe talk a little bit about some markets you're looking at? You mentioned some Arizona.
Absolutely.
What does that look like for the next year, 5 years, 10 years?
I'd say we have identified a strong dozen additional markets in Arizona that we're looking at. And we're also continuing to build in Colorado and Nebraska as well. Our growth beyond that, there's going to be a tremendous amount of consolidation in our industry. And we want to be a consolidator and not a consolidatee. And so we're already looking at some opportunities there in some other states. But our primary building will be in Arizona, Colorado, Nebraska, and then looking at expansion through other areas. But I would say, we pass over 1 million population right now. And I believe the latest estimate I've seen is that we want to double that in the next 3 years.
Great. Any other questions? Anyone in the audience, do you have any questions for Allo? All right. Well, thank you, Doc, and thank you, Mike, for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, on our agenda, we're going to circle back now to a legislative update. I'm not sure if Arizona League has joined us.
I do not have anybody from the league with us, but I did want to let you know that Kevin Adam has joined us.
Oh, perfect. Well, we'll do Kevin, and then we'll go over to Colleen. I understand you would be prepared to give us a legislative update? Okay. So, Mr. Adam, if you'd like to give an update from our TAC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, everyone. And there's a tremendous amount going on at the Capitol right now. Of course, we're just about a month into the new session. There's a tremendous amount of transition that's occurring. Of course, this is the first time we've got split partisan control of the Capitol in 14 years. That's obviously going to have a big impact on how the session proceeds and the outcomes. In addition to that split control, we've got both chambers have had changeover of over 50%, and that includes virtually all of the leadership positions, including the Speaker and the Senate President. And so I think we're still trying to work through what the priorities and agenda are going to be and just how, particularly how the budget process is going to work. And I think we got a sort of a preview of these challenges earlier this week when leadership decided that they were going to enact the skinny budget, which is basically just a continuation of current spending levels adjusted for program requirements, formulaic changes with some of the programs. And then once that was enacted, they wanted to circle back and then look at the remaining available funding and then negotiate on what specifically they wanted to do with that additional revenue. And so that skinny budget passed the Senate, and then on Monday, it came to the House, and that exposed another challenge with the legislation this year. And that is that, even though the Republicans still control both the House and the Senate, it's by the narrowest of margins. It's 31-29 in the House, 16-14 in the Senate. So if they're going to pass something on party lines, they don't have a single vote to spare. Somebody's not there. Somebody votes against the majority. Basically, the bill doesn't advance. And that's exactly what happened with the skinny budget. They had one Republican detractor from the feed bill, the general appropriations bill. And so basically, that skinny budget was not enacted. Now, of course, had it run its course, it would have gone to the governor, who didn't want to separate the new funding from the existing budget needs. And had she vetoed it, what's clear is that there aren't the votes in the legislature to override a veto. So I think it's pretty clear that long-term, we're not going to be able to get a budget through unless there is some level of compromise, because neither party is in position to basically unilaterally push something through. With that said, the revenue outlook still looks very good for this year. I think the longer term forecast isn't quite as good. I think there's concerns about a future recession are growing. But with that said, the state had a very tremendous carry forward balance from last year to work with, and about halfway through the current state fiscal year, we've experienced about 12% growth over last year, and we're $1 billion over what was forecasted for the year. So they think that right now they're going to have about, the estimate I'm receiving, that I'm hearing, is about $2 billion in one-time revenues to work with. And of course, last year they prioritized transportation with that one-time funding, and over $1 billion was appropriated to projects across the state. And all indications are that they're willing to basically proceed the same way with the available revenue that they have this year. And so there have been multiple projects that are the subject of bills. Of course, the big one that's getting most of the attention at the Capitol is to complete the I-10 widening between Phoenix and Tucson, where unfortunately we were unsuccessful in obtaining a $300 million federal grant. And so there's about a $360 million funding gap in that project right now. And so that is the subject of legislation. Of course, we've got House Bill 2543, which is the RTAC bill, which includes priorities from across all of greater Arizona, totaling $300 million. And that includes projects in all three of your cities, plus a couple in Mojave County. And there's also in La Paz, we've got improvements for Vicksburg Road, which I think probably a lot of you would look forward to happening. So next week is the last week for bills to be heard in their chamber of origin. So House bills have to get out of their House committee assignments and same thing in the Senate. And so we're anticipating that 2543 will be heard in the House Transportation Committee Wednesday afternoon. There is a possibility that deadline could get extended a week, but that is the plan for now. And so I think that's the big news, is that it's going to be very difficult to get anything through the legislature with the with how it's structured, and particularly I think with that split partisan control. But there is available revenue, and it does appear to be a lot of support and interest to direct a lot of it to the transportation. And so with that, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. Are there any questions, Mr. Adam, from members of the board? Anyone in the audience have any questions for Mr. Adam? All right, thank you, Kevin. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Colleen, if you would like to give a legislative update.
Hi, sorry I don't have a formal presentation. Someone just said, get up and do it, and I said, yes, sir.
I was told you were prepared.
I said, absolutely. So I presented to our chamber last week, so I feel pretty confident in what I can say today. So I want to just, I'm sure that the league would have gone over these bills. So I think there's 3 huge tax bills that are going through the legislature right now. One being the residential lease tax, that I believe is actually up today in committee being discussed. That's Senate Bill 1184, House Bill 2067. Kingman does have a residential lease tax. I know that we obviously do not support that bill, because that bill would be over $200,000 loss to the city of Kingman if that passed. So that's just a bill that I know we're tracking. We're definitely not in support of that. I think a lot of people might say like, oh, less taxes, this is great, but that really means a lot of losses to cities and the services that we provide to people. Also, the food tax. From what I know, none of the Tri-Cities tax food. That is not inclusive of restaurants or already prepared food, fast food. This is when you go buy groceries. However, we would also not support that bill, because the real losses to cities, I mean, it would really cripple a lot of rural Arizona. Some of that food tax is upwards of 20% of their whole budget. So we want to be mindful of just the effects it would have on other cities around Arizona, how that would affect them providing services as well. So that bill's 2061, and I don't know if there's a Senate bill on that. Yeah, Senate Bill 1089 as well. So that would be roughly for the whole state $180 million loss. So that's, like I said, real services that would be lost for cities to provide. Also, the corporate income tax is House Bill 2003. That would be upwards of a loss for Kingman of almost $700,000 a year once it was enacted by 2029. So once again, I think a lot of people say like, oh, less taxes, this is so great. But once again, for Kingman, I mean, if this was all enacted, that'd be over $1 million a year we would lose. That's services that cities provide to people that would be lost. And there's really not a way for a lot of cities to make that up unless they enact a property tax, can increase sales tax, and then so you're going to end up increasing taxes somewhere else to make up that money. So another bill I want to talk about when we're talking about all this money being lost, potentially, with sales taxes and potential services being lost, is a bill that was discussed earlier this week, House Bill 2418, and that's police response time. Not just local police, but also counties as well. So this bill was discussed as making that response time an average of 5 minutes. So our police chief and I know our county sheriff did email the chair of this committee, Representative Payne, and I listened to testimony, and I think, no one in our county doesn't support the police. I think we can all agree on that, right? And I think that, we all fund them appropriately for what we can do. So what I'm looking at this testimony is, I think a lot of people aren't thrilled with how other local municipalities might fund their public safety. And so we need to be mindful of that moving forward, of, our standards and what we provide and our police. And if this bill were enacted and we didn't meet that response time within 2 years, then cities could then suffer what's called 1487, which means the city could be sued and lose state shared revenue. So in a sense, we could be losing all this tax dollars from corporate income tax, food income tax, leasing tax. Then if our response time for our cops weren't, or even our sheriffs and, you know, what the second largest county in the state, if that wasn't 5 minutes, well, then there's more money that we're losing that, you know, would affect, I think, our public safety in general, or at least other services that we provide to our community. So just things I think we want to keep in mind moving forward with some of these bills that we're tracking. Like I said, that bill was discussed earlier this week. It was then held in committee, so I'm not sure where that will end up, but just something we want to be mindful of. The other bill I just want to tag on to what Kevin Adams said is the huge transportation bill. So thank you, Mayor Watkins, for already writing letters of support for our projects that are in that. I would urge everyone to definitely write letters of support to Chairman Cook of the Transportation Committee, and if they have any local people, and I know Representative Biasucci is also a co-sponsor of this bill, so I think that'd be important to reach out to him and let him know, like, hey, we're supportive of this, you know, please support this bill. We're hearing it could be in committee next week, maybe next Wednesday, so something we definitely want to keep an eye on. And let me see what else I presented. Also, what Supervisor Lingenfelter mentioned, the rural groundwater bills, Senate Bill 1306 and House Bill 2731 are those bills. And then also a bill that's up today. I know affordable housing and zoning is definitely on the docket for the legislature. There's multiple bills. One that came out earlier that's being discussed today is Senate Bill 1117. And that's a real bad bill. And let me just touch on why it's bad and why we're not going to support that. So just for instance, developers would be allowed to ignore zoning districts, zoning codes, design standards, and parking requirements, among other conditions. Multifamily projects would be approved administratively with no public process. I'm sure you're all excited to hear that. Residents would have zero notice and no opportunity to learn about the project or provide comments. No rezoning or general plan amendment would be required. The bill would also remove planning commissions from the process and strip local councils of their zoning authority. So definitely don't want to support that bill, right, folks? That's in committee today. So yeah, that's happening. So we're hopeful that will not pass or at least get vetoed by the governor, because it's not a good bill. That is Senator Kaiser, not from this area. And with that, I'll take any questions. Hopefully I can answer them. Sorry, I wasn't a little bit more prepared.
Okay, no, great job on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, Lake Havasu City also sent in a letter in support of the transportation bill that went out this week. That zoning is one of the main tenets of what cities and towns do. Our citizens expect to have certainty in zoning based on whatever investment they've made in our community. So Senate Bill 1117 is horrible.
Yeah, and there are some zoning bills that we're watching and in support of currently, but they constantly get amended. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard for us to get on and support anything. We're definitely just looking at being against stuff right now, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and 90% of what we do is we play defense when they're in session, and so that's what we're doing right now. Mayors, do you have any questions?
No, I just wanted to add that HB 2418, Bullhead City is going to be sending out a letter against that, and I would hope that that our other cities would too. This is terrible. I think it's a way to get around them to try to defund our police. If you think we can't make the 5-minute response time, how is that going to improve if you take away funding? It's definitely not going to get better. It would get worse. So I recommend everybody highly write a good letter against this bill.
Mayor, with that, I will say our chief and I know our sheriff did respond, and we did get a response from the chairman that blatantly said, "I don't want to hear you can't do it. I want solutions." So our solution is okay. Please attach a fat fiscal note to it. So I think too. I think not only in the state of Arizona or the Tri-Cities, I think it's a nationwide problem finding, recruiting and retaining qualified people to be on a police force. So I think no one's not wanting to hire. It's just people don't want to be cops right now. So I think we just got to look at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I reached out to the bill sponsor of 2418, and he's pretty steadfast in his bill. So we have some work ahead of us on that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
I cannot let Colleen sit down without thanking her for filling in for the league. They owe us, and thank you, Colleen.
No problem, of
Appreciate
course.
that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, the last item on our agenda are the mayor's reports. Any mayor want to volunteer to go first?
We're in Kingman,
We,
so-
I was thinking we could do it alphabetically too, you know, bullheads first.
I don't want to be the longest, so I'll let you go first.
Okay, I will start then. Well, probably our Economic Development Director retired. Of course, he's a Lake Havasu resident, but he recognizes the importance of Kingman. But Gary Kellogg retired last week, and I just wanted to mention him. And of course, Bennett Brantley. Most of you know Bennett from when he worked for the county anyway. He has taken his place and is our new Economic Development Director in that department. And of course, congratulations again to Gary Kellogg. Did a great job for us. And he'll be a plus to Lake Havasu again since he's going to be back in town there.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, he did a great job on our economic development too for many years.
yes, yes. So, we have our White Cliffs Wagon Wheel Trail. Trailhead, it's a recreation area and biking and hiking path that it starts downtown here. And we have appropriated more funds to connect that to our uptown. It'll come out somewhere around the golf course is where it'll be connecting to. And it's a great thing. And of course, it's historic because there are actually wagon wheel ruts from pioneer times. So it's a great trailhead. Just another thing to do in our great community. And then, of course, Todd took off early already from ADOT, but he recognized the TIs that are in progress. And most importantly, they're all three important. Kingman Crossing is in the planning stages at almost at 60%, and we hope to submit those plans back to ADOT in the next couple of weeks. So it's moving forward. We're hoping to see movement on all three of these things in the next year. So that's all I have.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Mayor Watkins. Mayor D'Amico?
That's why I let you go first, because I didn't want to be too time consuming. There's so much going on in Bullhead City, I could literally sit up here for hours and tell you everything that's going on. So I'll just hit a couple brief things. Last night's council meeting, I brought it to the council and we voted and approved unanimously to support the amicus brief. And of course, everyone knows what that is. It's a litigation between Mojave County, La Paz, Yuma against the Bureau of Reclamation. So we'll be sending out a letter in support of that and funding also. Myself and Travis, our assistant city manager, we just went out to Phoenix to give a presentation for Bullhead City on HB 2375. That's state lands coming to Bullhead City, or we're hoping to come to Bullhead City, transfer. That state land is where our Veterans Memorial is and all our boat launches, and I wanted to ensure, I'm a veteran myself, and I wanted to, and not only that, we are paying to lease that property, have been doing it for approximately 30 years, and we maintain it. It's all surrounded by BLM land. State could do nothing with it, so it should be ours. And I'm a veteran, and I want to make sure that Veterans Peninsula stays that for the rest of time. So we're looking good on there. There was an 8-0 vote with one voting present. The one that voting present is still bothering me today. It bothered me on my drive all the way back because I stood for questions, Travis stood for questions, Leo Biasucci sponsored this bill. He stood for questions. We got questions, we answered them, and the lady that voted present, she said, "I'm voting present because I have questions." Still bothering me. It's going to bother me on the ride back home now that I mentioned it. This morning, we did the ribbon cutting for a pump track in Bullhead City at Rotary Park. It's a great thing. It's for adults, kids. We even did a little one for the smaller kids. Great thing. I could go on forever on our parks. We're rocking and rolling with all things for people in our community and our parks. So if you have young ones that do BMX, for older kids with your mountain bikes, you could do all this on here. Mark Clark, our water guy here, is a bike enthusiast, and I'm thinking of banning him from there because I need him to stay healthy and not get hurt. So since you went so briefly, I'll leave it at that. Like I said, I could go on forever, but I'll save that for my citizens back home. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And in Lake Havasu City, we also have a lot of things going on. When it comes to the water, as we mentioned earlier, we'll be signing on to the amicus along with most of the Colorado River water users. I would like to thank our city attorney, Kelly Gary, who's taking the lead on the amicus for the entire region, and Jamie Kelly for her assistance in what we're doing on that front. We had our annual planning session last week with the council. This is what we call opening day for our budget session and conversations about priorities for our community going forward. During that session, we had some really great conversations among council, staff, and citizens. But one of the key areas that we had was on EMS medical transport. In the Lake Havasu City area, we currently are supplied by River Medical, or AMR, as our ambulance service. We have no redundancy in the system, and as we know as the Tri-City Council, we're all little islands of our own. So although we help each other, we're really far away from each other in a case of emergency. So we are working on direction to work with AMR at the state level to get approval to have a CO of N so that we can have redundancy in the system, and Lake Havasu City Fire can add some additional ambulance services to our community. Again, it's going to be very patient-centered, citizen-focused, ensuring that our citizens that need ambulance services will get transported to our local hospital. We're not getting in the business from the city's perspective of facility transfer. So if you're going from the hospital to another hospital or to a urgent care or to your home or something along those lines, not what we're talking about. We're just talking about emergent services. So that'll be very exciting to finally have some redundancy in that medical system that we have. We've also started construction of the renovation of our courthouse. We've been working on this for several years. But the renovation has started, and we hope to be able to move into our new courthouse, which is adjacent to the City Hall complex, in December of this next year. We joke 'cause we're 1 month into it and we're on schedule, so that's a good sign so far. But obviously we're very new into it. But December, hopefully that'll be when we get to open. We also are talking about all the legislative priorities at our next council meeting, which will be next Tuesday, the 14th of February. We will have a report from our lobbyist, Nick Simonetta. Our council and citizens will be able to meet him via electronic means. He's representing us down at the legislature, and he's new in his service to Lake Havasu City this year. So we're excited to be able to move some of our legislative priorities forward, which are, again, 90% of our times in the defense mode, but we also are very focused on Representative Biasucci's bill to increase SLIF monies, which expired this year. SLIF is the State Lake Improvement Fund, which is a portion of the gas taxes used for watercraft going back into communities that have water-based recreation. Leo Biasucci really championed that for us, but it is set to expire, so he's running a bill, and we're in great support of that. So with that, that would be the update for Lake Havasu City. Is there anything that anyone would like to bring forward? Yeah, Chairman Lingenfelter, please just make your way to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor Sheehy. Just one last thing. I just wanted to recognize, if I may, the vice mayor, the new vice mayor of the town of Colorado City has come to join your meeting. Dalton Barlow. Dalton, you want to come up? Brand new mayor and council up there. They've got their sleeves rolled up. They're energetic. They're ready to get involved and work. So I just wanted to introduce you guys to them, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you. We have a lot going on too. We're just so far away, and it's we look forward to working with all of Mojave County and the cities, and it's great to get started and get our hands dirty.
Yeah, fantastic. What was your name again?
Dalton Barlow.
Dalton, excellent. Hey, so how long did it take you to get down here today?
4.5 hours.
Yeah, long ride. So you win the award for the furthest coming.
Yes.
We hear really great things are happening in Colorado City, and
Yes.
congratulations on the work that you're doing up in that area.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming down. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, any final comments? All right, we are adjourned. I believe lunch will be served soon, so it'll be here in this area.
Yep.
So
It will be served in this room. Please stay tuned. It is everybody's favorite, the barbecue that we get requested every time. So
excellent. Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you, Kingman, for hosting us, and thank you all for attending. We are adjourned.